Loud. Okay, we're on. Friends, thank you so much for being here today. I am thrilled to introduce my guest. When I reached out to her, I held my breath a little bit with the hopes that she would say yes, and she reached back almost immediately with, and I would love to join you for this. So please join me in welcoming Emily Hauptman. She is a lawyer and financial consultant, as well as someone who has this innate intuitive ability for creative healing. I know Emily through her business Soul Space Energy, in which she makes the most remarkable sprays and amulets that help with healing, that help with restoring you to your highest self. She has different sprays for different intentions, different activities, and they are, again, just out of this world wonderful. So I am thrilled to have her here with us today. She is in Denver. I am in upstate New York. We are connecting by Zoom during this social distancing time. And I, again, have been over the moon excited about this conversation. I know that it's going to go in some really creative and interesting ways. And I think we'll all leave feeling a little bit brighter, a little bit lighter, and also with some inspiring actions that we can take to help us all, again, honor that light within us and live to our highest self. So Emily, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I am so excited and flattered that you consider me to be an authority on any of these topics. So thank you, Meg, for having me.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure. I'm thrilled to see your beautiful face live. So we chatted a little bit before I hit record. I had no idea that you were a lawyer and financial consultant. And when I first read that, I thought, oh, that's so interesting that she also has this other piece of her that is so intuitive, so creative, so rooted in healing modalities. Can you talk to me a little bit about how that intersection came to be and how you manage it?
Yeah, I'd love to talk about this topic, and it's funny that it interests you because it's something I've been starting to write a book on, which I'm really excited about.
I can't wait for that.
In the works, but really I started learning about energy and healing modalities in about 2015, and my mom has always really enjoyed them. So she introduced me to Reiki and crystal healing and other different shamanic practices like that, and I found them to be incredibly interesting just because you never run out of something to learn. There's always something new or a different way to try things out. So I was instantly hooked on that, and I loved it. And at the time, I was practicing in a law firm. I'd been out of school for about 2 years, so I'd taken the bar and had been practicing, and I enjoyed it enough, but I didn't love it. And I think for the exact reason that you're kind of speaking to, that the legal field is centered on animosity, and that's just how it goes. There's somebody suing someone on either end. There's somebody who's afraid because they're being sued. There's somebody who's angry. They are angry with you a lot of the time because people don't want to have a lawyer. Typically, when you have a lawyer, you're under some sort of strain financially or in your business. And for me, 2 years was enough to make me realize that I wasn't going to become jaded. I always wanted that optimistic outcome, and it made me not like being in the law. So I started trying to consider, what else can I do with this background, because I don't want to waste my degree that I've spent all this time and money on. And it was really quite an emotional crisis trying to figure out.
I can imagine.
Like, who am I if I'm not a lawyer? Because I've been working on this for years, and my husband's a lawyer. All of my friends are lawyers. Everyone I know is a lawyer. And that's how we have related. And so it was kind of strange having this spiritual side of me that I didn't really want people to see, because they would think I'm a kook. And maybe they they still might, but I've gotten past the point of caring about it. But I was trying to consider another job that would work, and in a pretty miraculous turn of events, I was able to return to a company I had interned with when I was in college and law school. Interestingly, where my mom works, so I get to work with her now every day.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's awesome. It's a really small business, and we just have a couple of clients and do financial consulting for them. So I don't have to deal with billable hours anymore. I don't have to deal with lawsuits anymore, but I still use my degree drafting trust agreements and working on other legal aspects. But I feel like I've taken the part of the law that I liked with me and cut the animosity, and really that changed really everything in my life for the better. So happy about it.
We spend so much time, especially in the United States, at our kind of 9 to 5, so to speak, jobs. And I think, again, especially as Americans, so much of our identity can be tied to what we do.
Absolutely.
And for someone like you, and I appreciate this for myself too, when there's this other calling, like the spiritual side, the healing side, the creativity side, you know, how can you, if not marry the two in your day-to-day work, how can you let the two coexist peacefully so that you're not at odds? And I'm so inspired by the way that you did that. You just celebrated your 6-month anniversary with your Etsy store. Again, friends, that's Soul Space Energy. What led you down that path to create that business, to kind of zero in with all of the learning that you had? Again, inspired by your mom, what led you down the path to the sprays and the amulets?
Well, I would say about 6 months after I'd left my law job and was working more in this financial consulting role, I had a lot more time, which was great because the law job is not 9 to 5 if you're doing it right. And part of why I didn't love it. And so I finally had all this free time on my hands, and I'd done a lot of reading before just on crystals and flower essences. And I really loved, like the earthy aspect of it, and this idea that somehow we get these treasures that just occur naturally in the earth, and they have properties sort of like everybody knows when you sniff peppermint, it kind of wakes you up and you feel focused. So I started with more like approachable ones that didn't seem so strange, and tried to wrap my head around how does the energy of this feel. And then that's when I kind of discovered that there were essences, and I don't make many of my own. I'll occasionally make some, like if there's something neat going on, like a full moon or some cool event, but typically I'll buy them just because I think the companies I use that make them, they really specialize in that. So I like to think of my job as alchemizing these various components rather than creating every single one, because I think the quality would be lost if I was trying to distill my own essential oils and make my own essences. So really I'm just bringing them together. But I think the joy for me came from offering them to friends and realizing people actually wanted them. Because as you were saying, Meg, it's like, how do you marry this spiritual side of you with the people who've never known you that way, which is pretty much everybody I knew. I hardly even knew myself that way. And it was cool. And I was for sure very nervous to offer this up to people, because I thought they'd think I was strange. And then when it was met with so much receptivity, I realized maybe there is a need for this that I didn't know about, that I could try. So I sold a number of sprays just to friends. And it was so funny at the time, you know, I'd write like on a yellow Post-it note what was in it and stick it to the bottle. And then I thought maybe people would like to give these to family members for holiday gifts. So I figured I need to get labeling, I need to get stickers. The lawyer in me knew that there are labeling requirements. So of course I'm like looking up the federal labeling requirements, trying to make sure I have compliant labels. And again, the law background sometimes comes in handy. But after that, it really took off from there, and I opened up the Etsy, and that was a complete learning experience. But for anyone who's creative, I can't recommend Etsy enough, because they make it easy for you, and they walk you through how to set everything up, how to do your shipping, how to consider your pricing. And so that aspect of it was pretty easy once I had it figured out. And then I just kind of waited to see how it would be received. And little by little, especially as my Instagram account grew, I had more people that I knew were interested that I could kind of reach out to. And I still work on wanting my Instagram to be spiritual and not all about selling my products, but I want the two to be linked. So that's something I'm constantly navigating.
Yeah. Yep. I appreciate that. I love what you said about, putting this out there, even though it was an area of yourself that you didn't know, never mind, it was an area of you that friends and family didn't know either. And I talk a lot about, feeling confident in your own skin, aside from really the immediate receptivity that friends gave you with, this is amazing, we want more. What else gave you the confidence to keep moving forward with this and to put it out there?
That's a good question. It really is a day-to-day process trying to stay consistent with everything you're doing. And I think in that sense, spirituality is so unique because it's really intimate and personal. And so you feel like you're bearing your soul when you put this stuff out there. And I think what gives me confidence is just thinking about how everyone's not going to like me, just like I don't like everybody. And that's just a frequency alignment. And so when you get to the point of feeling like the people who like you will find you, and the people you like, you'll find them, and everybody else, it's not that they don't matter, it's just you're not a match. And I think for me, my confidence generally comes from realizing that if people think that I'm weird, maybe I am, but I'm just not going to be your girl. So we won't worry about it. And I try to always tell myself when I get nervous, those positive affirmations of, this means something to me, and it might mean something to another person, but if it doesn't, it means something to me. And that's all that matters, really. Yeah. Because it's my journey.
That's so powerful. Yeah, I love that. That's beautiful. I love too the idea of the frequency match, or, a frequency not match. Because I think that takes it off of you. It's not something that you are or did, or that someone else is or did, but rather it is just, you are a match from a frequency standpoint, or you are not a match from a frequency standpoint. And, it's not good or bad either way. It just is how it is.
Well, and you may match somebody at one point and then you don't match anymore. And that's another thing I think that I've seen through this process is just with friendships and relationships. I can think back over all the years of my life, and some friendships have lasted forever, some come and go. And I think that again just speaks to, there's a time and a place where you connect with someone or you don't. And so I just tell myself, if somebody doesn't connect with me, that's fine. And of course, Instagram on business pages shows you how many people follow and unfollow you. So you realize really fast that plenty of people will unfollow you, and that's fine, because to me, that just means they're honing in more on what works for them, and they have every right to do that, just like I have the right to do that. So I don't take it too personally. And I think
it's that's something that I work on consistently. And I think, being able to say, the people who are unfollowing me, I love that, are honing in on something that is beneficial to them. And I think it also makes space for the people who are looking for you, because now they've got the room to come in and find all the goodness that you have to offer. Oh, that's so beautiful.
I agree. It has helped me a lot just to take that approach. But I think also confidence comes so much from just your internal state that I've found really you stop judging how confident you are based on everybody else's reaction to you, which is something for women especially I think is difficult, because you grow up always seeking validation. I think that's a very feminine quality, and something that we're taught is you're always looking for this external validation, whether it's as an athlete, a student, whatever that may be. Right. When you start realizing that the most meaningful validation comes from inside, you really quiet that noise, I think, of everybody else. And that has helped me a lot, of feeling like I don't need everybody's stamp of approval. If you like this, wonderful. And if you don't like it, I'm sure there are other things you do like. So enjoy those. And it's not personal.
I love that. And that's a perfect segue too. I normally ask people about their morning rituals. I want to know about your morning ritual, but I also would love for you to share your evening ritual, because I have been watching this with such interest on your Instagram page, and I have been pulling parts of it and adding it to my evening routine and ritual as well. And it's been so wonderful. So can you walk us through what is your priority when you get up? And not only that, but how do you stay motivated to honor that? I feel like this, maybe not this time where a lot of us are home and some of our schedules are a little bit more flexible, certainly not all of us, but we often kind of get up and go. So what is it that motivates you or empowers you to take that pause and honor those things that nurture you morning and night?
Sure. Yeah, I totally agree with you. The morning, it's like you're getting up and you're going. And for me, I'm really lucky because 3 days a week, I don't have to be at work until mid-morning, and that's just how my schedule is. So it frees up a couple of hours, which has been wonderful. But I think what I try to do, I don't know where I heard this expression, but I've always loved it. And it was eat your frogs first, which is basically get all the stuff that you don't want to do over with right away, and then the rest of your day is so easy. So if there's things that I have to get done, whether it's for work or like a personal errand, I really try to get that stuff done first, just because then I don't have that heavy energy looming over me all day, like I have to get done, because it's just human to feel that way. When you have your to-do list in the back of your mind, it's hard to stay present. So I try to eat my frogs first and get,
I love that,
whatever it is I have to do out of the way. And then in the evening is more of a time where I try to wind down. And so, of course, not to plug my business, but I like to use my products to support the energy, just because it's hard on your own sometimes. So when I'm getting ready for bed, I will use my sprays around the room, and I have this beautiful Tibetan singing bowl that I love. And so I'll do that around the room, or I'll make my husband do it and he'll play along with that. He's not spiritual, but he will play along with the singing bowl. So one of us will do that. And I think having that consistency helps, just when I hear the sound of the bowl and your body and your mind attune to that. And when I smell the spray, like I know it's time to wind down, and that really helps. And then as I prepare to go to sleep, I really try to call on my angelic connections, and that's a part of my spirituality I've really tried to develop that I love. And it's just, to me, the idea that there are these higher, benevolent, loving beings who are always looking after you and taking care of you, and they're around and you can call on them, but they won't interfere in your life if you don't call on them. So you have to ask for permission. So I'll try to make some sort of ask. So lately with the virus, every night I just say, please look after my family members with their permission. Please clear their bodies of anything negative while they sleep. Please clear my body of anything negative while I'm sleeping. And I've stayed healthy so far. I'm not gonna make any blanket statements, but I think keeping your energy in that state really helps. And I've been waking up feeling really refreshed. So I try to come up with like an angel ask in the evening, whether it's help me release something I don't need tonight while I'm sleeping, or help me anchor in something I do need while I'm sleeping. I find that to be helpful because you're letting your angels do the work while you rest.
Right. And you bring up such a good point too. I think regardless of the spiritual modality that you practice, you see this come up a lot. We have these guides and angels, and to your point, benevolent beings who are there to support us, but they do need an invitation. They do need an ask to come in. And so incorporating that into, your nightly ritual and asking them to come in and help. And I love personally that it doesn't have to be a specific ask. It certainly can be. But if you are, looking for more general assistance, it can be a, please help me clear my energy field. I think that's so empowering and such a good kind of nugget to tuck away, that they're there to support us if we invite them in.
Exactly. And I try to explain it to people who aren't spiritual, who are interested, as asking your angels is sort of like praying. You're offering up this request where sometimes people have a hard time wrapping their head around, there's angelic beings who are around me. And it might sound a little strange, but really everybody understands what prayer is. It's the idea that you are making this request from a higher source that has the ability to comfort you or help you. And so I tell everyone, whether it's through your religion or your spirituality, there's a way anybody could do this. It just depends on who you want to ask. And so
Right.
I just make my ask very general, and I figure whatever being is most appropriate for the request will come to me. And so far, so good. I enjoy it. And it brings me a lot of peace. So I think that's the important part.
I love that. And I think you mentioned in one of your posts recently that you ask your angels to give you a sign that they're there, that they're hearing you, that, you know, the message is connecting. And your ask is, you know, let me feel warmth or heat. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, that's right.
Good.
And it helps because I think another hard aspect of spirituality to tackle and to wrap your mind around is, am I crazy? Especially when you first start going through all of this, there's this mental battle of, am I just imagining all of this and I've completely gone off the wagon? I don't know what I'm thinking. And so to me, asking for something a little bit more tangible or something I will recognize really helps, because when I'm sitting there in my quiet state, I can feel the heat enveloping me, and it's a physical sensation. Or when I'm looking for signs in the outer world, I'll sometimes ask for a really specific sign, like show me a feather or something. And I cannot tell you how many weird places I have found feathers. Like there have been times I've walked outside and there's one like eye level seemingly dangling from God knows what.
Right. You can't miss this.
You can't miss it. It's like right there and it has no reason to be there. And I think when you start asking for those kinds of signs and then you smile to yourself and appreciate when you get them, they just keep coming more and more. I'm sure you've had that experience too.
Yep, exactly. And I love how it grows upon itself, right? Like those high vibrations. And I think the same is probably true when you're feeling the lower vibrations as well. But certainly those high vibes, you know, they capitalize on one another. So you keep lifting yourself up and up, which is a remarkable feeling. Yeah.
Well, and it's fun because it gives you something exciting to look forward to in your day. Like I will always joke with my husband that I see, and I think I posted this recently too, I see the number 44 everywhere I go. And I started seeing the number when I was studying for the bar exam, and every time I'd see it, I would use it as a moment to anchor in the affirmation of, I'm smart enough to do this, I'm capable of doing this, I'm going to do this, and I'm doing a good job. And every time I would see 44, I would stop and I would take in that affirmation. And so it's always just become this positive, even years later, sign to me when I see it. And so when I'll check out at the grocery store, it'll be something and 44 cents. And then there's 44 on the license plate in front of me. I see the clock always at the 44-minute mark when I just, you know, like pick up my phone to see what time it is. And I think when you find the sign that works for you, it's fun because you'll start getting it all the time.
You'll start getting it all the time. And I love too that it takes you out of your headspace. I think we can get caught in that loop of just thoughts on repeat, you know, the record playing the same song over and over again, and looking for those signs. One, it gives our mind something to do, and then allows us to pause and be present in that moment. You know, so much of spirituality is, you know, can you take yourself out of that rumination and out of that kind of
spinning thoughts.
Yes, thank you. Exactly. Yes. And looking for those signs gives us a way to do that. And I love attaching an affirmation to it too. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. It pulls you right back in the best way. Oh, I love that. Emily, one of the things I appreciate so much on your Instagram page, and I also see it, I was looking through your Etsy shop yesterday, and there is such a genuine connection that you establish between your buyers and the people who are commenting and following you on social media. Yeah. Is there anything you're finding that is maybe more common than not a struggle that those of us who have been attracted to you are facing? And what's the inspired action, or what's the insight or advice you might give to those people?
Sure. Yeah, I think there's two things. I think the first one is for people who are interested but a little bit less spiritual and just kind of going down this path.
Mhm.
I find what they struggle with most is kind of the topic we touched on of thinking they're a little crazy and
Yes.
not being sure that what they're experiencing is real or that their feelings are valid, and also not knowing how to handle family members who maybe don't share the same beliefs. I find that to be a pretty common struggle. And I find that for those who are more spiritual, I think a lot of times the struggle is just we're interested in so many things that it's hard to figure out which one you're going to focus on or going to
Yes.
be good at, because you love it all and it's all fascinating. So how do you narrow down your focus? I think those are two concerns that I see most just from
Mhm.
different types, people who are at different places right now in their life.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I can definitely say I've been there for both of those
Yes.
experiences.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have
What's
too.
Yes, I have. Absolutely. I appreciate that wholeheartedly. What insight do you have to that second group of people that you talked about who are interested in so many things? How do we narrow down, one, so we get the most out of it, but two, and really probably as beneficial, is to know, oh, this works for me, or oh, this doesn't quite work for me. Not that it's not valid, but right now at this moment in my life, this isn't what I need. Do you have any insight that's worked for you?
Yeah, I would say what's worked best for me. So I started doing Reiki. That's what got me off on this journey of spirituality. And I think I wondered for a while if that was something that I was supposed to do. And
Yeah.
I had spent a lot of time thinking about it, and I still will offer it to people from time to time. But then I'll contrast that with my mom, who's just out of this world amazing at Reiki, and she's like tapped in instantly, and I can see her love and passion and gift for that. And so I
Yeah.
think in that regard, not that you should always be comparing, but if you can see how much you're connecting with these various modalities, you
Hmm.
can hone in pretty fast on which ones make your spirit happy. And so for
Yes.
me, I felt like, okay, do I want to be a YouTuber? And I thought, well, I love the YouTubers that I follow, but I'm not sure that that's what I want to be. And then I thought, do
Hmm.
I want to be like selling crystals? Well, I love crystals, but I think there are so many amazing crystal vendors already that I like to
Right.
learn from. I'm not trying to necessarily just emulate them. And as I went down the list of all these things I was interested in, when I got to the creating sprays, I realized that's where I can connect with people and create at the same time, which
Yes.
marriages both of the things that I love. And so
Right.
I feel like it's more so just trying a lot and then really taking like the gauge on where's your spirit at when you're doing them. Like, do you feel as if you're forcing yourself to be good at this or to be interested in it, or are you feeling peaceful and at home when you're practicing? And that's what helped me, for whatever that's worth. I think that's just trying things and seeing what works, really.
Right. Oh, that's so great. And I love too how it kind of brings us full circle. In the beginning of our conversation today, we chatted about, getting to know yourself and sharing those aspects of you, not only, internally with yourself, but also sharing them externally, and having a clear idea through really experimentation. What is it that lights my soul up in the best way? What is it that brings me passion and doesn't drain my energy, even though it may take energy to do the task or the work or the project, or the
I think
healing.
I think that's such a perfect way to gauge it, because I think when you're doing something that is in alignment, like when I'm making sprays, of course it takes a lot of energy, especially with the custom ones, because
Right.
you're researching, you're narrowing in, and then you're using your intuitive qualities to figure out which is going to be the best essence for the spray. It's all
Mhm.
energy work, but afterwards I always walk away feeling lighter and happier for having done it,
Yeah.
and it's something I look forward to. Whereas when I was trying too hard to like offer Reiki, I like to do it from time to time for certain people, but I'm not
Right.
the person who is hosting huge clinics, and it just took trying that out to know. And
Hmm.
then, like you said, if something's draining you, it's not in alignment, and you figure that out pretty fast.
Yes. Yeah. And this too, it certainly applies to, spiritual modalities and spiritual practices. I feel like it also applies to really everything else we do in life. I mean, certainly you found it from your work at the law firm compared to your work at the financial consultant firm. And I think it's true with relationships as well. We can start to tap in and tune into what is it that is like draining my soul, and what is it that is lifting me up, and how can I crowd out what drains to make space for what lifts me up.
Yes, absolutely. And discernment in relationships for sure is one of the most important pieces, just because, again, it's not that anyone's right or wrong. It's just a frequency match. And if your frequency does not match someone, they will drain you. And it's not because you're doing something wrong, or even because they're doing something wrong. It's, sometimes it is. Sometimes people are, say things that hurt you or what. But for the most part, I just find that there's some sort of comfort level you have to find with knowing that everything's not going to match, and then being okay with letting it fizzle out if it doesn't.
Right. Yes. And being okay to, I guess, giving yourself permission to walk away and to say, I'm not a bad person. They are probably not a bad person either. This just, again, from a frequency standpoint, is not a match. Yeah.
Sure, exactly. And then you find that your circle turns out to be these awesome, really supportive people who love you. And even if they don't share your interests, they'll support you. Like my group of friends has been so awesome getting my business off the ground. They all placed a bunch of orders and have supported me since, and encouraged me and followed my page. And I don't necessarily think it's because all of them are spirit fanatics, but I think when you help people who really care about you, the feeling of caring about each other, that's the frequency match, not even necessarily your interests.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good point. Yes. It doesn't have to be, we're both into, sprays or crystals, for example. It can be, yes, we're matching from a place of, caring for each other. Mm-hmm. Oh, that really resonates with me. I like that a lot. Good. Emily, what is next on the horizon for you? Do you have plans for, you mentioned a book, which now I'm super pumped about and can't wait to read. Anything else that you've got your eye on right now?
Well, I started writing just with this abundance of free time, and I felt like we'll see how it turns out when the book is more completed. But I just felt like this story of a lot of people being in a career that they don't necessarily connect with, but having trouble figuring out how to get out of it and move to the next thing. I think that's a story a lot of people get, and found a lot of people in the spiritual community started off in corporate jobs, which I find very funny. Like, I would say most of the spiritual people I know all started in corporate jobs and just found other things that they loved. So I'm hoping the story will be interesting, and I have always loved to write, and I think I'm decent at it. Sort of. Well, I guess we'll see. I won't be my own critic.
You are.
I won't be my own critic yet. But I'm working on that, and I'm trying not to force it. So it's going kind of slowly, just because if you're sitting down making yourself do something, I don't think the authenticity always comes through. So I'm really taking my sweet time working on that. And then I'm scheduled to do a couple of craft fairs in Denver, but we'll see with how everything's going lately. That might not be in the works. So I'm just going to keep working on my online Etsy business and my Instagram page, trying to keep good content and advertise my products there. And I think for now, that's just perfect. And I want to spend the majority of time just working on my meditations and my own stuff, and let all of this be kind of the cherry on top.
I love that. That's beautiful. I have two last questions for you. I had one, and then when you mentioned meditation, I thought of another one.
Sure.
So first, you just mentioned tapping in and honoring authenticity. So you were speaking about it from, the standpoint of writing what's going to be, I'm sure, a remarkable book. What are the ways that you honor that?
I think it's tough. It's really tough, especially when you're working on this spiritual modality, and you're working on determining what's your energy and what stuff you picked up on from other people. I think that can be really difficult, because for me, I learned so much from so many different creators that I have struggled to find my own identity in that. And one of my favorite people that I follow and who I've done readings with and sessions with, he told me, you have to find your own place in this and not ride the coattails of anybody else. And that has really stuck with me. So I feel like I try to just, again, take my internal gauge. And when I'm about to do something, I ask, does this feel right when I'm considering what I'm about to do? Do these words feel like my own? And I hope that comes through on my Instagram, because I see a lot of spiritual accounts that post a lot of similar stuff, which is all really good, but I don't necessarily do the like type 6, 7, 8 if you agree, or that's just not me. But I wondered for a while if that's what I should do. And I think you have to get to the point of just seeing what fits you and then honoring that.
Right.
I still do type 6, 7, 8 on something, you know, but it's just more like you have to figure out if that's where you're coming from. And I think people inherently will know if you're not being authentic to who you are. There's like this human skill of being able to gauge whether someone's authentic. And so I try to just say, like, does this feel true to me, or does this feel like something I heard from somebody else?
Right. I love that. It's that pause again, right? It's looking for the signs. It's giving yourself a moment to tune in and saying, you know, okay, this is me, or this feels right now, or hang on. You know, I love that idea about riding the coattails of other people. That's great.
To do. You know, it's so easy to do, and there's so many amazing creators out there who have these incredible insights that it can be really difficult not to want to just emulate exactly what they're doing because you love what they're doing. So it's coming from a place of respect. What is it? Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, or something like that. It's difficult not to want to just mimic those creators who you love, but I find that, you know, they're here to anchor in whatever frequency they have to offer, and you're here to anchor in yours. So just taking the time to reflect on what that is to you makes a difference.
Yes. Yeah, that's very powerful. Oh, beautiful. To wrap up today, what does your meditation practice look like these days?
Oh gosh, it's better than it's ever been with this
abundance. I'm hearing that from a lot of people.
Yes, I think having so much extra time really helps. But for me, I usually will do one of two things. I'll either do like a guided recorded meditation if I'm feeling like I need something to help me focus in that day. If there's a lot going on externally, I can stay more present when I'm listening. And I love all of the meditations by Dr. Joe Dispenza. He's one of my very favorites. He has awesome meditations. So I'll listen to those probably a few times a week. I try to meditate every day for at least 35 to 40 minutes because I can't quiet my mind in a shorter amount of time than that. Maybe some people can, but it takes me time to really sit there. And on the days when I am not doing the guided ones, I'll just put on a little bit of light music and just kind of sit there and breathe and try to be open and try not to have expectations, because that I find can be really hard when you're wanting to receive messages and information. If you're too caught up in the wanting piece, you're not really allowing. So I'll try to just take it as a quiet opportunity to see what comes up, and usually something does.
Oh, that's so wonderful. I love that. Was there anything that I didn't ask that you wish I had, or anything else you want to share with our friends watching today?
No, I am just so appreciative of anybody taking the time to watch this. And if you are on the spiritual path, I just want you to know that you're not crazy. And there are plenty of people around like Meg and I who have been through so much of this and are here to support you. And I think that coming together in that community is something we're just going to see more and more of in these upcoming energies. So I'm excited that we're here to share more of that.
Yes, I completely agree. Friends, I wholeheartedly encourage you to connect with Emily. She's on Instagram at Soul Space Energy, and she's also on Etsy, that same name, Soul Space Energy. Every time, I don't think that's an exaggeration. I think every time I see a post from Emily, I am inspired to try something new or do something differently, or it helps me to anchor in something I'm already doing, her messages are incredibly helpful and incredibly inspiring. So Emily, from my heart to yours, I am so grateful for you taking the time to share these just such outstanding insights with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Meg. I appreciate it.
From my heart to yours, Emily, sending you and sending all our friends watching us today so much love and light.
Love and light to you all. Thank you.
Thank you.